Well, good morning. I assume the recording started.
Yes, yes.
Good morning. This is our first meeting in this room since March, right?
Yes.
As you can see, we're socially distanced. It's December 17th, 2020. This is Ken and my last meeting. So I want to thank all you who have logged on. Sonia and Paul will be on Zoom, so I assume you'll be able to see them. With that, I will call the meeting to order and ask our County Administrator, Gary Schmidt, to please take the roll.
Thank you, Chair Bernard. To begin our staff support today, Christina Twilliger, Clerk to the Board, who's sitting behind us. Stephen Madcore, County Counsel, who's also sitting behind us. Our also staff Rich Marvin and Garrett Teague from Public and Government Affairs, who's making sure this meeting runs smoothly, as well as Kevin Galusha from Technology Services. Roll call. Chair Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Humberston.
Here.
And then remotely, Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
All commissioners are present, Chair.
All right. Please join me in a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are holding this meeting virtually. If you've joined us on Zoom app for this meeting and you are interested in providing public comment, we'll prompt you regarding how to do that when the time is right. You'll have the option of providing your comments to us live. Alternatively, anyone can send a comment to be read in the public communication portion of this meeting over email at bcc@clackamas.us, bcc@clackamas.us. Be sure to include your name and the area from which you live. Gary?
We'll begin today, Commissioners, with a wildfire update. We have Nancy Bush, Director of Disaster Management and Incident Commander of our Emergency Operations Center. Please go ahead, Nancy.
Thank you and good morning.
Chair, can I make a comment first?
Who said that? Oh, Paul. Okay.
Yes. I just want to make an observation. I appreciate this being the first one that's kind of both a Zoom and a live meeting. Not a big deal, but at least from my perspective, my view, you guys, it's like you're in a very dark room, and I can make out your figure where you are when the camera's on you, but it's so dark, it's like you're all with the lights off. But that shouldn't be a problem as of yet, but I just want to point that out. If there's anything our TS staff can do to enhance the lighting on the cameras within the hearing room there, it might help. Thank you.
So we will have them, I'm sure they're working on it right as we speak. Perhaps there's some spotlights or lights they can bring in here, but I know they're working on it. We'll attempt to do that during the meeting. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. So, Gary?
All right, so wildfire update, Nancy, please go ahead.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. It's good to see everyone here in person. So for the wildland fires, just a few updates of the numbers that I reported on Tuesday. So for our individual assistance here in Clackamas County, we have 2,392 that have registered. We now, for household assistance, we have 86 that are eligible for an amount of $397,735. Household assistance, or other assistance is 122 for $149,421. And individual and household program is 158 that are now eligible, and that's $156 coming in from FEMA for those particular areas. Our SBA low-interest disaster loans has now been approved here in Clackamas County for $2.4 million. In addition, I just wanted to talk a little bit too about the dollars that we have that have come in from CARES, which is going to be hopefully part of our recovery for some of our businesses. And we have some numbers there as well, which does tie a little bit into the wildland fires because they kind of all started melding together for these needs. So the recent grant round for $1 million, we have 800, a little over 800 business applications. We're now looking at those, they're vetting those and making sure and taking a look to see how many of those are ready to go and are eligible. So we're planning for around 600 because we usually have, several that don't have all the paperwork. And we can't get all the paperwork for those. We have 114 child care providers. 36 are brick and mortar, 72 are home-based, and 6 are campfire programs at schools. And we're getting out the letters for those this week for their eligibility and their award letters. As far as what businesses and the categories, Commissioner Savas asked that question last week. We have it broken down, and right now we have adult care is 6, automotive is 9. Construction is 25, entertainment and recreation is 38, food services, weddings, and events is 190, lodging 7, manufacturing 5, medical and healthcare 53, personal services, nail shops, barbers 83, and retail, storefront and small stores is 75. And those are the ones that have actually already been awarded. And I will send this to the BCC, but I also wanted to talk about that here briefly for the public as well. And those are my updates.
Thank you. Any questions? Paul or Sonia? Would you have?
Hey,
any-
yeah, I'll make just a comment here. I could not capture much of anything that Nancy just said, and it's unfortunate, but this new format makes it super hard to hear when you're remote. I'm not sure if Paul's able to hear or not. I did give him a little text just to ask him, but just to make it better for us, Nancy, I could hear you when you talked directly into the microphone. When you turned your head away, or probably you're looking up at the people live in the meeting, it's completely lost to myself and probably those that are listening remotely. So that would just be my suggestion. And Nancy, I don't know if you have notes, but because I wasn't able to hear, if staff could facilitate getting me the notes that Nancy spoke from, I would really appreciate that. I really rely on those updates.
Yeah. Yes, Commissioner, I'll be sure that you get the notes, and thank you for letting us know that we need to talk directly into the mic.
Yeah, I'll just add, thank you, Sonia. I'll just add that I think the mask obviously kind of impaired the clarity of your comments, like that not anyone's fault. That's just the nature of wearing a mask when you're speaking. But I think the audio it sounded okay, but it was kind of mumbly, but I did catch what you said. So thank you, Nancy, for providing that extra detail.
All right. Any other questions or comments? No, Gary, go ahead.
All right, we'll move on. And thank you, commissioners, for your patience. Yes, this is the first time we're doing this live with social distancing and masks. We're learning. We'll keep doing our best. Next, we have COVID-19 updates with Dr. Sarah Present, our Clackamas County Health Officer, and Philip Mason Joyner, our County Public Health Director and Co-Incident Commander of our Emergency Operations Center. I assume they're online, so please go ahead, Sarah and Philip.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Sarah Present, Public Health Officer for Clackamas County. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't believe that Philip Mason Joyner is able to join us today. And I know that he had wanted to, but has another important state conflict today. So I do have our weekly COVID update in a PowerPoint. I'll go ahead and jump into that. Christina, if you'd like to pull it up for everyone to see. All right, so this is our update for December 17th, 2020. We'll start out with our weekly case data. So we do see that our, what we call our little hockey stick has a well, it looks like a hockey stick in that the trend has gone down in the last week. And while this is such a relief and incredibly reassuring, I again cannot predict what's going to happen in the next several weeks. We know that we've had a humongous surge in cases, hospitalizations, as well as, unfortunately, deaths in Oregon since the end of October. We have seen a leveling out. as we go through the next month, it's going to be very important for everyone to maintain the incredible precautions that they've been taking that have led, we believe, to this decrease in cases, to maintain this decrease and hopefully make it go down just as fast as it went up. So the week ending in the week of December 8th, we had 827 total cases for that week, down from over 1,000 the week before. Go on to the next slide, please. When you look at our county risk based metrics that looks at case population or cases per 100,000 population over a 2-week period, because of that week prior is involved in our most recent data, we do have the highest so far at 469.8 cases per 100,000 over the week from November 29th to December 12th. That data comes out and is published on the Oregon Health Authority website every Monday. So we do anticipate a decrease again this coming Monday, but we will still maintain the extreme risk level for some time to come. For that to decrease to the moderate risk level or the high risk level, we need to be under 200 cases per 100,000 population over a 2-week period. So we're still at well over double that, and we can anticipate being in the extreme risk category for both in-person education at schools, as well as our economic and business regulations for quite some time, I would imagine at this point. Okay, next slide, please. From July through October, public health interviewed at least 80 to sometimes 90% of our COVID cases every week. As the cases surged in October, the number of interviews in that public health could accomplish could not keep up with the growth in the number of cases. The percentage of cases that were interviewed dropped, even though the number of interviews overall increased. This is a look that we have been getting to a higher percentage of cases to be interviewed. The not attempted percentage was nearly half at some point, and now we're down to about a third. So we are making headway in our public health response to be able to investigate every case, but still there are many, many cases of COVID-19 that we are unable to reach, unable to get to for an interview. And we really are encouraging the public to educate yourselves on the symptoms of COVID-19. Use our After You Get Tested guide on our website, which we'll give a link later, to educate yourself on what to do if you're sick or what to do if you know someone who's sick. There's a lot of information about how to self-isolate and self-quarantine that we have on our website, and I encourage everyone to look at that. Go on to the next slide. I do have to acknowledge the incredible work of all Oregonians and everyone in this region. As Thanksgiving loomed, I think you could all hear the concern in my voice about the potential for overwhelming our hospital system and our real concern about hospital capacity. This is our current hospital capacity since December 1st. There are still ICU beds available. The hospitals have had to make a lot of changes to ensure hospital capacity, but we have not had the full overwhelm that some predicted or were concerned about. And I take this as a small win. So I really want to thank everyone for doing all that everyone in the community has done to decrease risk, to decrease spread, and preserve some hospital space. We've done a really good job, and we need to keep up these efforts through this holiday season so that we can maintain this flattening of our curve and our hospital capacity. All right, thank you. Next slide, please. So the other amazing silver lining is that we do have COVID-19 vaccine in Oregon. So the first batch in batches of 975 doses arrived in Oregon on Monday. Governor Brown had a press conference that was televised yesterday with healthcare providers getting some of the first vaccines in Oregon, and I think it's really worth a watch. It is such a sign of hope and light at the end of this pandemic tunnel. And I'm just really grateful that we have these vaccines starting to come into our state, and some idea that we may be able to decrease our case numbers and get back to some new normal. We're expecting another 30,000+ doses arriving this week, split between 4 healthcare systems. That would be Legacy Health, Oregon Health and Science University, Kaiser Permanente, and St. Alphonsus Medical Center out in Ontario, Oregon. And almost 11,000 doses going to skilled nursing facilities for vaccinations this week, and that's going through our pharmacy program with Walgreens in particular. On to the next slide, please. I do want to address some of the common questions about this COVID-19 vaccine. So the COVID-19 vaccine is not, there are a number of common types of vaccinations. One of them is a live attenuated virus. One of them uses viral particles. This vaccine is neither of those. This vaccine does not have dead virus or part of the COVID-19 virus in it. What this vaccine does is it trains our own body's immune cells to present a protein on the surface of our cells called the spike protein. The spike protein is something that the COVID-19 virus uses to get into our bodies and get into our cells to cause disease. By our own cells providing this protein without any of the viral action, our body can start an immune system response against this protein, which will then fight against the virus if it comes into our bodies. It does not cause a viral response. It does not cause infection. All it does is put one protein that's inactive. It just looks like the virus. It puts that protein on some of our immune cells so that our immune system can learn what that protein looks like and build antibodies towards that particular protein called the spike protein. Once our body has antibodies against it and knows what it looks like, then if that virus gets into our body, our immune system is ready to fight it and to keep it from giving us infection or disease. So I'm happy to go back to that. I'm happy to take questions on that. I know that the way that vaccines work there can be lots of questions about that. So it will not cause disease itself. There's no way that this virus can cause the COVID-19 disease. Many people are having some side effects, soreness in their arms, and that's pretty common with any injection. Some people are having some fatigue or even low-grade fever the next day, and that is not a sign of the vaccine causing problems. That's a sign of the body's immune system working and building that immune response and building those antibodies so that our body is ready if we do see the virus and ready to respond. So it's a sign of the immune system working if people are having low-grade fever or fatigue the day after the vaccine. Some of the other questions are whether you can still spread the virus if you get the vaccine. What we know now is that this vaccine is incredibly safe and incredibly effective. The long-term efficacy over years, there's still much to learn about that. And it's incredibly over 95% effective in preventing severe disease. Whether it prevents all disease, there is still some to learn about that. Whether someone can still get it and spread it, there's still some to learn about that. We don't think so, but I have to admit that it's unclear. However, preventing severe disease is the main concern here and our main public health goal. That being said, until we see a significant decrease in cases, and I would anticipate until we're in that mild risk zone, we need to keep up our precautions of continuing to wear facial coverings, continuing to socially distance, continuing to take all the precautions until we really see the case counts lowering and we see the actual numbers decreasing as a result of the vaccination. So vaccine is an incredibly powerful tool in our public health toolbox, and it's not the only one, and we need to keep up using all of those tools. There have also been questions about requirements. There's no discussion of this being a required vaccine at this point. There's particularly no discussion of it being required for school admission. It's actually not even approved for children under the age of 16 right now. Again, we're focusing on those highest risk for getting severe illness, our healthcare workers, our elderly, people with underlying conditions. And so it will be given primarily to adults with higher risk at this time. I think those are all the vaccine questions. Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. Another really important topic that there have been a lot of questions about recently. I'm going to take just a pause here. So vaccine coming to Oregon, coming to the United States is hopeful, but we are not out of the woods. We have been working really hard this last month to control this pandemic, this last year, much in this last month, as a public health division, as a county, as a community, to stay safe, to protect ourselves from illness. But there are ramifications, and we are all very aware of the challenges that this pandemic has placed on our community, including loss of lives, loss of businesses, loss of economic, financial security, loss of homes. We do know that we have had a significant increase in calls to our county crisis line. However, our crisis line is there to help. I want everyone to ensure that you know the 24/7 Clackamas County Crisis Support Line at 503-655-8585 is there to help. There have been a number of questions around increased suicide rates recently, and thankfully, Clackamas County has not, in fact, seen a significant increase in the rate of suicide. However, this is a real public health crisis as well, and I want to ensure that everybody knows where to go to find resources. So clackamascounty.us/coronavirus/go teams and the National Alliance on Mental Health at namicc.org/self-care toolkit have some great resources. And I encourage everyone to spread these resources widely and check on your loved ones and check on those you care about and your neighbors and ensure that everyone's doing okay. Next slide, please. Then we have several resources for businesses, for people concerned about exposure or illness to coronavirus at www.clackamas.us/coronavirus. Please go there to look for resources. And I'm going to take just one last moment to really express my sincere gratitude to this Board of Commissioners. I know that this is the last meeting that I'll be at this year. My gratitude to you, Chair Bernard, and to the entire Clackamas County Board of Commissioners for the support that you have given this last year to me personally, to the Public Health Division, and to the entire community of Clackamas County during this incredibly difficult time. You've advised me well, ensured that I get the right information to you in order to work together to make the many tough decisions that have had to be made in the last year to best protect the residents of our county. I could not have asked for a better board to be leading our efforts in the last several months. So again, my deepest thanks to each and every one of you. And with that, I will take a pause and take questions.
Paul and Sonia, do you have questions?
I just want to thank Dr. President for that piece, the slides and the explanation of the vaccine. I think that really does or should allay a number of concerns for a lot of folks. So fascinating. I'm not a scientist, but I think it was a great presentation. So thank you so much. That was just brilliant. I appreciate it.
Sonia?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I really appreciate you explaining the importance of continuing the tools in our toolkit while we get down to the mild risk. I really appreciate that because I'm just concerned about people jumping the gun and us not seeing the benefit as fully as we can with all the tools we have available. So thank you very much.
All right, Martha?
Yes, thank you, Dr. President. It's been a pleasure working with you too, and a pleasure with working both of my colleagues. I do have a question about the vaccine. Now, this is the Pfizer vaccine, and then there is another vaccine, and are we going to be having a mixture of both of those vaccines distributed?
Yes, thank you. So the Moderna vaccine is the next one that we anticipate, and the FDA is reviewing the evidence, the studies from the clinical trials of the Moderna vaccine I believe as we speak, we are anticipating an FDA approval sometime this week. I don't have an update on the timing of that.
Okay.
Once that is approved, then we will anticipate shipments of the Moderna vaccine to Oregon.
Okay.
That one of the nice things about this vaccine is that it doesn't need that negative 80 or 90 degrees Fahrenheit freezer. It uses a normal vaccine freezer. And so our distribution efforts with that will likely be greater as far as our outpatient clinics and for spread to the general population. There may be more of the Moderna vaccine once that is approved. There are a couple other vaccines also that are in clinical trials that we anticipate over the next several months being reviewed for approval. I want to clarify they are all those, each of them are the mRNA vaccine, so each of them work in the same way that I described for the Pfizer vaccine that we have currently in Oregon.
At this time, though, is the Pfizer vaccine deemed more, giving us a higher immunity? You know?
So when you look at the numbers in the clinical trials, there's a very small difference in efficacy, but they are both over 90 and near 95% effective in preventing disease. The small differences there are really not going to be clinically significant. With anything over 90% efficacy, it's going to be a powerful tool for us. So we would not prefer one over the other. I think we are going to prefer whatever we can get to the most number of people at this point.
Thank you for that. My final question is, now I've heard a number of the hospital systems, and Providence wasn't mentioned. I'm kind of curious as to what systems, again, have been given the vaccine. I think you said Legacy, OHSU. Oh, she left.
Yes, it's the Legacy Health System, Oregon Health Science University, Kaiser, and it's St. Alphonsus Medical Center in Ontario, Oregon. I know that they have been treating a number of patients from neighboring Idaho as well, and so they're treating the population in Eastern Oregon, or being the distribution center for them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, as you can see, the number of vaccines are dripping in with over 400,000 people in Clackamas County. It is going to take a while. So, it's very likely we'll get into summer before it'll be more readily available. There was over 300,000 medical professionals.
Healthcare workers, yes.
Healthcare workers in the Portland metro area. And as you can see, just getting those folks vaccinated. And remember, it's two vaccines. So you got to double 400,000 in Clackamas County by two. And of course, some of those include babies and things that wouldn't normally get the vaccine. Dr. President, are you going to stay a few minutes?
Sorry, yes, I'm happy to stay.
Okay. Also, on this end, you guys need to turn your mics up because I struggle. I don't mean you guys. The folks on Zoom need to turn their mics up because I struggled with some of Paul's comments a little bit with Sonia and Dr. President too. So, Gary, what's up next?
All right, we're still on COVID. Next is an addition to our agenda yesterday. This is COVID-19 public discussion item, approval of an addendum number 6 to resolution number 2020-14, declaring a local state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 emergency. We have Stephen Madcore, County Counsel, to present. There was a updated draft that was distributed to you commissioners late yesterday and posted online. Go ahead, please, Stephen.
Thank you, Administrator Schmidt. Good morning, commissioners. You currently have 3 emergency declarations, one for COVID, one for wildfires, and one for debris management. They all expire January 8th, 2021. What you have before you now is addendum number 6 to the COVID emergency declaration. This extends it to a date in February. We haven't specified a specific date. I would propose a Friday, which would be the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, or the 26th. That would allow the board to extend it if necessary on the previous Thursday. This incorporates all of the prior emergency measures that the former 5 addendums had incorporated. It also lists under paragraph 7 that there are vaccines and that they are being distributed and being applied. And it also talks about resources necessary in terms of funding vaccines and supplies. So this is a continuation, a proposed continuation of the existing emergency to a date in February. And if you want to impose additional measures, none are recommended at this time, but if you did, this would be the tool to do it. And if you have any questions, happy to answer them. Nancy Bush is here as well.
Well, we were informed yesterday that extension of this, if we do not extend it, we may risk some CARES money. Correct?
Actually, it's related to FEMA dollars, but it is funding that we're using to help house
Okay.
those houseless, yeah.
All right. So, and it expires very soon, so obviously it's something we want to consider. Sonia or Paul, do you have a comment?
So I would like to see us take whatever steps are necessary now to extend the state of emergency. I don't want us to risk any potential resources, and I think we don't want to have to be called back during the break for an emergency session. So I'm all in favor of making this move today.
All right.
I concur with that. I would just simply, it sounds like Mr. Madcore was not certain of a date, so pick a date and let's move forward.
Well, I would like to do the 28th of February. So, any other comments?
No.
So, Ken?
One comment, Mr. Chairman. I believe that was the 26th was the last Friday of the month, based on Mr. Madcore's calendar. So I would move we approve addendum number 6 to resolution number 2020-14, declaring a local state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 epidemic, and I would add to that it would be the 26th of February.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve addendum number 6 to resolution number 2020-14, declaring a state of emergency regarding COVID-19 to February 26th. Any further discussion? I guess we need you to poll us, don't we?
Yes.
Christina?
Okay, let's see. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savis?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Stephen.
And then one more quick COVID update. This is under your script, under my county administrator update. I'm moving it up because it is COVID related. There are 2 contracts that were signed under the Emergency Declaration 2020-14, which you just made an addendum to. For the record, I want to state for you, first is one you talked about as a board this Tuesday, December 15th, and has already been signed by Chair Bernard, but for the purpose of the minutes, I'm restating it. That is a contract for our Disaster Management Department, authorization of a winter shelter hotel contract with the Econo Lodge on McLaughlin Boulevard, and authorization for staff to actually, sorry about that. So this is for 27 winter shelter rooms at the Econo Lodge Hotel, not to exceed $363,700, which is entirely funded by Emergency Operations Solutions Grant Funds, which is part of COVID-19 CARES Act funds. There is no general fund involved. So you've already approved this. I'm just stating it for the record. The second one, though, is new, that I signed on your behalf yesterday. It is for Health, Housing, and Human Services. It is approval of a sub-recipient grant agreement for emergency shelter grant funds to Greater Good Northwest to provide shelter support services. This is also for the Econo Lodge Hotel. It was discussed with you on Tuesday that this would be the companion piece. Greater Good Northwest is the company that will help with the day-to-day management of these support rooms. This cost is $211,986, which will come from emergency shelter grant funds. Again, COVID-19 CARES Act funds. There is no general fund involved. For this one, I am seeking your ratification to approve the contract I signed on your behalf.
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? Paul or Sonia?
No.
Okay. Christina, would you please poll us?
Of course. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We are done with COVID-19 updates, so thank you to Dr. President. Thank you, Nancy. Next, we're able to move on, Chair, to the item you wanted to add.
All right. So this is my last meeting, and I want to take this opportunity to say a few things. So this is my 20th year in elected office. I spent that entire career training for 2020. We have done a great job with the resources we had due to our population and the governor's care funding distribution. We had to take a great care in how we spent our limited resources. None of us expected to ever have to deal with a pandemic. And frankly, I thought the worst tragedy I would ever see was 9/11. 2020 provided the greatest challenge in my career, and all county employees stepped up and took on the challenge. But I can't give all of you an award, and frankly, the hug you all deserve. So I have selected 5 individuals for specific recognition. And first, does the mic work?
Testing.
So Sonia and Paul, can you hear this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So first, for Nancy, Nancy is a director of disaster management and incident commander. I probably would have never met Nancy had 2020 not occurred. So for you, I've selected an award, and I picked kind of a one-word thing, and it's adroit. Have you ever heard that word? No. Adroit means skillful, straight path, expert, nimble, and resourceful. And you certainly have shown all those skills. So I picked all these out myself.
Oh, beautiful.
And that's for you. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd give you a hug, but
Thank you.
thank you. And that's your box. So, and then Dan Johnson, come on up here. When Dan first got this job, he'd come up here, he couldn't get a word out of his mouth because somebody would interrupt him, stop him from saying anything. And then you became the director of transportation and development. And when things got tough, in a matter of weeks, you worked really hard and got our permitting system up. And you've just proven to be an outstanding manager, one of Gary's finest. And I want to thank you with an eagle, and your word is causative.
And that is?
Oh, well, causative, let me see. Causative is produce an effect.
Oh, excellent.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then Dr. Present, who's still on the phone, is assurance. And I remember once I said I was kind of tired of seeing her because, I would have never met Dr. Present either had this occurred. I never knew our other medical officers. Never heard of them. Knew they were here, but never met them. And for Dr. Present, I selected, where's the camera? Assurance. And this is for you. And assurance basically means freedom from doubt, belief in abilities, and inspires confidence. And so, Dr. Present, thank you very much. And I'm sure someone will get this to you. And this is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And then Philip Mason Joyner, which just figuring out what his name was challenge enough. But Philip is affirmative. And what that means basically is he's supportive, helpful, and encouraging. Again, another person I would have never met had COVID not occurred. Just an outstanding public servant that I'm very proud to have had the honor to work with. So Philip, thank you. And then there's another guy, Gary Schmidt. So I got to tell you a little story. When our administrator left and Gary said he was going to apply, I said, don't do it. And Gary tells me that inspired him to really do it. And he really stepped up. And your word is transitional, which is obviously transitional. I was wrong, Gary. I was wrong. You proved to be a transitional leader, a great leader, and you proved it the day you opened your mouth when we were interviewing, and your years of experience have really been outstanding. And how you treated the rest of our staff, our 2,000 employees, is something that all of us should be very proud of. So your position has been very challenging and done an outstanding job, and nothing could stop you. So love you. Thank you. But in this room, there's a lot of people who deserve thanks. And of course, Richard Swift over there. Lots of money's coming to the county. That's going to be spent on housing. The work he's done in health H3S is outstanding. And the ambulance work moved us forward. And he was here during the battles. I remember seeing him up here testifying, and it was very challenging. He probably thought, what the hell did I just do? And of course, Stephen Madcore. Without him and his expertise, we would not have been able to do what we did during this crisis. Matter of fact, everything we've done for years, we always didn't agree. We maybe started out on wobbly legs, but in the end, I'm proud of, honored to have worked with you, and thank you.
I'm smiling underneath my face. Yeah. Thank you, Jim. A real pleasure working with you, Chair.
Well, thank you.
Happy holidays to you.
You too. And happy holidays to all of you. And with that, we are going to move on to the next issue.
Yes, so we will recognize Chair Bernard and Commissioner Humberston at the end of this meeting. So gentlemen, you're not out of this either. But next on the agenda is the Housing Authority consent agenda. If Christina, the clerk, would please read the consent agenda. I'm sorry, no, Chair Bernard, you have to,
Oh.
I'm sorry, Chair, I jumped ahead.
So first I need to announce that, what did you say?
Housing Authority consent agenda is next on the agenda.
All right, so I now announce that the board will recess as a Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Housing Authority Board for the next item. With that, introduce Ann Linstra, who is our Housing Authority Commissioner. Ann, are you here?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. And with that, I'd ask the clerk to read the Housing Authority consent agenda by title.
Excellent. For today's Housing Authority consent agenda, approval to execute a construction contract between the Housing Authority and Grace Point Contracting LLC for Clackamas Height Skirting Project. Number 2, approval to execute an intergovernmental agreement between Housing Authority of Clackamas County and Behavioral Health to fund support services to residents impacted by COVID-19. Requesting approval to respond to the Oregon Housing and Community Services notice for funding availability for a loan of resources to support publicly supported housing. Approval of resolution number 1951 authorizing Metro funds, loan financing, project-based Section 8 vouchers, and related materials for the Fuller Road Station project. Approval of resolution number 1952 authorizing the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of documents for the Webster Road redevelopment project. Approval of write-off of uncollectible rents, late charges, and maintenance expenses for the second quarter of fiscal year 2021. And project turnkey purchase and sale agreement approval. And that's your consent agenda.
Thank you. Do any commissioner wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Commissioner
Yes.
Savas has his hand up.
Oh, okay, Paul?
Yes, Commissioner Bernard, I'd like to pull item 5 and item 7 for discussion.
Okay, we'll set those aside for now. So Ann, would you please, anyway, can ask for a motion.
I move that we can approve the consent agenda as amended.
Very good.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as amended. Any further discussion? I'd ask the clerk to please poll us.
Yes, Commissioner Leenstra,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
and Chair Bernard.
Aye. So, Ann, you need to stay a little while because we need to discuss those two items and determine whether we want to move forward on those. So, who are we going to bring up? Richard?
Let's do, I'll ask Rich Swift to come forward, please. Let's start with item 5, which is approval of a resolution number 1952, authorizing the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of documents for the Webster Road redevelopment project.
Richard?
You can sit down, Rich.
Oh, okay, sorry. I guess this is on. So item 5 is essentially documentation related to Webster Road. It's our project redeveloping a site that had been previously used as behavioral health services for youth, and we are in the final stretches of essentially completing the paperwork to go forward with that remodel, and so the documents that you have in front of you are essentially that.
Okay. Paul, did you want to say something?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I fully intend on approving this today, but I want to point something out. And first of all, I want to qualify that or mention that my colleagues, each of you, Chair Bernard, Sonia, Ken, Martha, myself, that when we met for our first retreat, I was so grateful that you all embraced and saw the need for the crisis that we have upon us, which is the homeless. And so you are all compassionate. You still are compassionate. You all care. We care. And I value that. So I want you to know that when I discuss this item and the next item, that I not only acknowledge that, but I'm speaking really with concern and compassion. Okay. So Rich, I'm not necessarily directing this at you, but when this project or opportunity came up to purchase this property, we were kind of excited, you were excited, and we thought that this might be a great, one of the first projects we could do with the Metro bond, the Metro housing bond that had passed. So it enabled to house, 20, 30, 40 people relatively quickly. It needed a little bit of work, but it would be ready to go, and we could just put a little bit of money in it and we'd be off and running. And what actually has turned out is that this has turned out into a major rehab. And to this day, there is still no one occupying this building, all well-intended, but still the point is that at this point in time today, that unit still sits there vacant, under construction with work to be done. That's a little disheartening. I understand that. No one to blame per se. It's not about blame, but it's about a reality here that I'm trying to bring to the floor, bring to everyone's attention. So along the way, not too long ago, a few months ago, several months ago, unbeknownst to us, was not really announced to us, that the estimate to do this rehab had gone up considerably. The board, not just myself, but members of my colleagues of mine, were somewhat distraught about that and asked to be updated regularly about the cost with this project. That happened a little bit, but we find ourselves today haven't had that update, and now it is on the consent agenda. Okay, I am perfectly willing and going to support approving this. But what has not happened is we had not gotten the updates that we were promised to get. And I want to put extreme focus on this because, number one, every delay is a delay. It's one more day that people that are out there on the street that are homeless who don't have a roof over their heads. The extra cost results in people and dollars not being able to be applied where they need to for others. So every dollar we lose on something that is not thoroughly thought out and thoroughly done in an efficient, financially efficient, cost-effective way is a dollar that can go to help other people. So I want to just point that out, that we did not get the update. This is on the consent agenda, and yet we did not have that update. So with that, I'm going to leave that one as it is, and I'm going to go to number 5.
So Paul,
Excuse me, agenda item.
may we just make a motion on that one?
Okay, so I move to approve agenda item 5.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 5. Any further discussion? Please poll us, Christina.
All right, Commissioner Leenstra,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
and Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Okay, Paul.
So agenda item 7 is about the Econo Lodge Hotel, about the potential purchase of the hotel. Tuesday, I'm going to digress a moment here. So since our discussion on Tuesday, we have gotten a lot of emails coming into, and it's very clear that everyone is misunderstanding what we've done, or think we're doing something we're not doing, or something that we should do. It's all over the map. People are passionate, apparently, that we approve this project and buy the hotel so we can house the victims from the forest fires. But that's not what we're doing, unfortunately. And that's because of messaging. That's because of things that were said that apparently aren't accurate. And that's where the confusion comes in. This is where my passion comes in for not only the victims of the forest fires, but also the occupants that are currently in there. So today and yesterday, on Tuesday, we approved unanimously the contract to extend services for the full occupancy of the Econo Lodge Hotel from today, or January 1st, till the end of April. So there is certainty, okay? Those rooms are occupied. They're going to be occupied. That's approved. There's no questions asked, okay? However, my staff tried to get as much information on that, because what was presented on November 17th to the board, which is where the confusion comes in, when we decide to move forward with the turnkey project, which sounds very appealing. I'm not critical of the turnkey approach. I'm not critical of that whatsoever. That's what we moved on. We decided unanimously to go forward with it, but it was on the premise on November 17th, as staff introduced it, that this was going to be for the forest fire victims. So naturally, we approved that to go ahead and seek that out. And it turns out that days later, that the paperwork that was drawn up had very little to do with the forest fire victims, that this was actually being designed for a permanent homeless shelter. That is quite different, which left myself and others on Tuesday asking the question, what about the victims from the forest fire who need housing? Well, that's really not clear, and that's not obviously enough capacity there or in the right location to do that. As a matter of fact, the materials from staff indicate that the services to be provided will be provided within the urban growth boundary because of the Metro Services Measure. Lots of things that are confusing here, so I'm sure that not everyone's going to be able to follow this, but it's important. I think it's extremely important that we clear the air as best we can here this morning. So if we buy this, we don't gain any extra capacity. And the board had discussions and had principles, and we've been following principles of you don't concentrate poverty where there's poverty. You don't put people at risk, especially vulnerable people. The people that need the housing right now that are homeless are vulnerable people. They're adults, they're senior citizens, they're of all age groups, and they're also children. In this particular area where the Econo Lodge has an extremely high poverty rate than any other area on McLaughlin Boulevard. As a matter of fact, on Google, you will find that the poverty rate for children of 5 years of age, what percentage, the percentage of children 5 years old that are in poverty, at least at the date of this particular stat, was 100%. That's how, and this is also adjacent to a building that I used to rent. Okay, where we were, my first time being held at gunpoint, being robbed at gunpoint. Okay, this is not a great area. There's, Rich, could you help me? What's the name of that assessment again that we did at the Veterans Village to look at the local environment, the conditions and so forth? What do we call that? Some kind of analysis?
Commissioner, it's called a health impact assessment.
Okay, health impact assessment, okay. And on Tuesday, you indicated we had not yet done that, and apparently that's going to be part of the due diligence. My staff on Monday, knowing of this change, knowing of what was in the packet, which was quite different, again, quite different and alarming that it was not for forest fire victims. My staff got a hold of Andrew Naylor, our legal counsel, asked for all the documentation. We asked for attachments that he did not have. He gave us everything. I trust he gave us everything. We contacted your office. We did not get a response until Tuesday when Jill Smith mentioned about the application that was submitted. So I asked for the application, and Jill, thank you for sending the application. I opened it up, and you know what's in the application? I don't know if my colleagues read that, but there's 2 hotels that were considered. Yeah. Okay, and one's considerably larger. It's 45 units. 45 units nearby, and it's in an area that does not have or will not impact local residents. It's not in an area where there's housing. It's in a great, ideally suited area with services, with transit, got a number of features. Apparently our staff, admittedly in the staff report anyhow, say they haven't fully investigated it, but I'm troubled as to the fact that whether or not we move forward with the Econo Lodge, we don't gain any capacity. And the people that are out there now, there's at least 18 people out there right now, okay, that need housing, that the Econo Lodge can't handle, that this other facility for 45 units could handle. So I'm at a loss to try to understand. It seems to me that we could maintain a contract with the Econo Lodge, keep that 27 room capacity, and use these dollars, these one-time dollars, for an additional 45 units. We would serve an additional 45 people, okay, with these one-time available dollars. And it was also shared that these one-time affordable dollars, that all this work had to be executed before December, or by December 31st, 2020. That turned out to be false as well. The deadline for these dollars is actually April 30th. Granted, there's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And, you know, what I'm asking is, this board, had they been fully informed, I think should have discussed, I would have advocated for the larger unit. Okay, the monies, because of the source, are there and to be able to do that, but that's not what we had. Okay, now our constituents, based on all these discussions, are confused because on one hand they think that we're not going to serve the homeless people, which we are because we already approved the contract. They're concerned about we're not serving the victims in the forest fire. That's unfortunate. I'm just disappointed, frankly, that the Board of County Commissioners, when we were informed on November 17th that what the purpose was and what the direction was, that direction was redirected to being something else without notifying the board. Okay, that we didn't have these options, that we weren't informed. And
I'm gonna jump in here, and Paul,
Sonia.
Let me just jump in and say that I really appreciate having your perspective, because all perspectives are really important, and I value where you're coming from, and it's important to discuss these items because one of our values is trust in government. So it's really important that we share our views, but we also, Paul, we can't take all of the time on these issues. So the one thing I want to comment on is that I get it. It's concerning when things are said that they were for wildfires, but then there's money that becomes available under a different form. But I just want to emphasize that we are in an emergency. We are in an emergency on a lot of fronts. We're in a wildfire emergency. We're in a COVID emergency. We're in a housing emergency. So if the legislature changes the funding stream and things are moving so fast, and our staff is working incredibly hard to keep up with everything. And so, Paul, I know that your comments have been noted. The Pamplin Media did an article about it that's in the paper. I think it is clearly on the record where you stand on this. I know that I've been getting texts from people from the community that are planning on sharing on public communication today. But for right now, I'm going to call the question. I'm going to make a motion that we approve this consent agenda item, and I will entertain a second.
That is, you know why that's unfair? Because apparently you folks are not interested in clearing the air and getting to the facts, and you don't want to address the capacity that we really need. We have an opportunity right now to instruct our staff to pursue the other unit for 45 units. And if you want to circumvent that, frankly, Commissioner Fisher, by calling for the question, I'm troubled by that.
No, Paul, staff is already looking at a backup plan. That's already in the works. And we can absolutely, if you want to say, let's look at that, then we can say that. I don't have a problem with that.
That's not what's been shared. Maybe it was shared with you, but the point of the matter is it ought to be shared with the board.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. There is a motion on the floor. Will the chair entertain a second?
Yes.
I second the motion.
So, and there was a call for a vote already, so that ends discussion.
That is the motion calling the question.
All right, so the question is, the motion was to approve item number 7, was it?
That is correct.
Yeah, item number 7, project turnkey purchase and sale agreement approval. Christina, please poll us.
Okay, Commissioner Leenstra,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Abstain, lack of information, lack of clarity, lack of follow through.
okay, Commissioner Schrader,
Abstain.
and Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries. Oh, wait, we got one more person on the phone. Did you already ask her?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that is 4-3. 2. 4-2.
And
4
Commissioner
yes
Fisher
and
has her hand up.
2 abstain.
Okay.
All
Yep.
right, great. We'll move on to the next, oh, wait, first we need to change hats.
Hey, Jim, before you move on, I just want to confirm that I have confirmation from Jill Smith that they are actively pursuing both properties. So in order to address Commissioner Savis's concern, I would like to make a motion that we as a board direct staff to continue their efforts in pursuing all options for the turnkey funding. And if I could get a second for that, that would be great. So at least we have it on the record and we can all vote to support that.
I'll second that.
Any
I
further?
would like, I would like to make a friendly amendment.
Okay,
And my friendly amendment is that we do genuine outreach and pursue the outreach and the health impact and assessment for these properties.
So Paul, that's not going to be part of my motion. I want to, I believe that staff is already doing that, but I'm not going to get that directive with direction to our staff. I do know for a fact that they are doing outreach, and so I do not think we need to direct that from the board. So we have a motion and a second, and I think that we can poll.
all right, please poll us, Christina.
Okay, Commissioner Leenstra,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
and Chair Bernard.
Aye, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. The next, we'll announce that the board will adjourn as the Housing Authority and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. And item is?
Next is reading and adoption of a previously approved land use ordinance, which is adoption of previously approved zoning and development ordinance amendments, ZDO 273, short-term rentals. Nate Boderman, County Counsel's Office, will present.
He's currently joining the Zoom room. He will be there
We'll
shortly.
wait just a quick moment then.
Okay, Nate, go ahead and unmute yourself and good to go.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, I'm here this morning. We're recommending adoption of an ordinance to implement the previously approved ZDO 273 proposal, which is an amendment to the county zoning and development ordinance, which clarifies that the rental of a dwelling or guest house as a short-term rental may be allowed. I'm sure you'll recall the board amended the county code on November 25th, just a few weeks ago, to provide the regulations around the short-term rental program that applies to the unincorporated areas of the county. So the ordinance before you today is a separate action that will ensure consistency between the ZDO and the county code that's necessary to implement the short-term rental program like we've been discussing over the past, really several years now, I guess, at this point. Planning Commission held public hearings on this on November 23rd of this year and voted to recommend approval of the staff's proposal to the board. Board of Commissioners held a public hearing last week on December 9th, and at that time unanimously voted to approve the ZDO 273 proposal as recommended by staff and the Planning Commission. So staff has drafted the ordinance before you today to reflect the board's decision that was made last week. But because of the quick turnaround with which we had to get these materials to you after your meeting last week, there is one issue with the ordinance that I want to bring to your attention, and that's the effective date. I drafted the ordinance so that it would go into effect upon adoption. So that's something that we can do with land use ordinances. The planning director did remind me, however, that we usually delay the effective date for 30 days to give us time to update the code materials that are available to the public and to ensure that your adoption is final and not subject to further appeal, since parties do have the right to appeal this decision to LUBA if they do so within the next 21 days. So it's staff's recommendation that you do adopt the ordinance, and if you agree with the delayed effective date, to make a motion to adopt the ordinance with that effective date being January 17th, 2021, which is a month from today. Alternatively, you may recall that the regulatory changes to the code are not set to go into effect until July 1st, 2021. So you could delay the effective date to sync up those amendments. But to me, the change here today is limited in scope. It serves to clarify that short-term rentals are not violations of our zoning ordinance. So I'd recommend the earlier January 17th effective date. That's staff's recommendation, so as not to, I guess, perpetuate the confusion that currently exists with our zoning code, but the effective date's up to you. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you might have with that, including a suggested motion if you're so inclined.
Any questions of Nate?
I don't show any hands up.
We don't see any. So let's entertain a motion, but you might, is there guidance on the motion? Just set the date in there, correct?
Chair Bernard, if I could, I would just, my suggested motion would be what's provided in your script. I move to adopt, or I move for adoption of previously approved zoning and development ordinance amendments, ZDO 273 short-term rentals with an effective date of January 17th, 2021.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we adoption of previously approved zoning and development ordinance amendment ZDO 273 short-term rentals to become effective January 17, 2021. Any further discussion? Okay, Christina, please poll us.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savis?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Next item is, Gary?
Next, we're moving on to public hearings. The first public hearing is second reading on ordinance and board order temporarily amending Clackamas County Code, Section 2.05.160.2, to allow for vacation accrual for non-represented employees during COVID-19 pandemic and wildfire emergency and declaring an emergency. Stephen Madcourt, County Counsel, will present.
Thank you. Yes, this is a ordinance and board order number 2020-79. And what this does, it temporarily amends the county code to lift the current cap on accrued vacation for county employees. And this is for the non-represented county employees because Mr. Administrator Schmidt has already lifted it for the represented county employees. It lifts the cap above the 280 hours of accrued vacation. It is temporary in that it will expire December 31st of 2021. This is the second reading, and if the board were to approve it today, it would be effective immediately. And I'm here to answer any questions that the board may have.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? All right, with that, we'll go to the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on that matter. Christina? Any emails or?
I don't have any emails, but I will ask attendees in Zoom to use your raise hand feature if you would like to comment on this specific public hearing. Later, we will be doing general comment, but this is just for this specific public hearing. Let me take a look. I do have one hand raised. Heather Riggs, I will go ahead and bring you over. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes for comment.
This is not actually the motion that I wanted to comment on.
Okay, I will go ahead and move you back over, and we will call on you during regular public comment. So I'm not seeing any other hands.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we read the ordinance by title only.
Second?
Any further discussion? Christina, please poll us.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye. Sorry about that. I couldn't get my mute button.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savis?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Ask the clerk I see you pulled us. Ask her to read the. Okay. So will the clerk please read the ordinance by title only?
Yes, this is an ordinance and board order number 2020-79, temporarily amending Clackamas Code, section 2.05.160.2, to allow for vacation accrual for non-represented employees during COVID-19 pandemic and wildfire emergency and declaring an emergency.
With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt ordinance and board order number 2020-79, temporarily amending Clackamas County Code Section 2.05.160.2 to allow for vacation accrual for non-represented employees during COVID-19 pandemic and wildfire emergency and declaring an emergency.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance and board order number 2020-79, temporarily amending Clackamas County Code Section 2.05.160.2 to allow for vacation accrual for non-represented employees during COVID-19 pandemic and wildfire emergency and declare an emergency. Any further discussion? With that, Christina, please poll us.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries. With that, I will announce that the board will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as a Water Environmental Service Board for the next public hearing.
Next public hearing is approval of a resolution for exemption and authorization to use the request for proposals method to obtain a progressive design builder for the Tri-City WRRF Outfall Project. Lynn Chacoin from Water Environment Services will present.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
With the approval of Oregon City voters in November of a required easement in John Storm Park, Water Environment Services is moving forward with the design of an outfall for the Tri-City wastewater treatment facility. The project will consist of, as you may remember, installing a 90-inch diameter pipe from the Tri-City treatment plant to the Willamette River. The route's about a mile long and follows I-205 from the plant to the Cloverleaf intersection of McLaughlin Boulevard and I-205, and then out to the river. Our conceptual plan is to install a pipe in an open cut trench about a half mile along I-205. Then we'll sink a deep, large shaft in the I-205 99E Cloverleaf and tunnel back towards Main Street and forward under McLaughlin Boulevard and John Storm Park and out into the river. There's several factors that make this a complex project, including tunneling a large diameter pipe, extensive environmental permitting associated with the work in the Willamette River, and construction in a congested area. Of course, with complexity comes risk. Using a alternative contracting approach called progressive design build, we'd bring on an experienced specialty tunneling contractor during the design phase to mitigate our risk by having their input and leveraging their experience as a design is developed. This approach will also allow us to work more collaboratively with the contractor to minimize disruption to the public during construction. So we're here today to ask for an exemption to allow us to select a contractor using a progressive design build process. And George Marlton is here to present from procurement.
George?
Good morning. Thank you. George Marlton, Procurement Manager at Clackamas County. So as Lynn has already kind of done a pretty good overview, we are here to ask for an exemption to allow for an alternate procurement process to select a progressive design builder through the request for proposal process. To let you know, we did publish a 14-day public notice of this hearing in the Business Tribune and in the Oregon Public Information Network, ORPIN, where everything's posted for public procurement. So both the LCRB and the Oregon statutes empower the board to grant an exemption to the standard bidding process and authorize the use of an alternative competitive procurement process. So again, we are requesting the approval of the request for proposal process as the alternative competitive procurement. So what does that all mean? The standard bidding process is a low bid process where we select the vendor with the lowest price. The RFP process is where we select the vendor based on experience, approach, and price. The RFP process is very commonly used for projects that are complex or have special conditions like the Tri-City Outfall project. So in order for the board to authorize an alternative process, it must approve two findings. The first is the exemption is unlikely to encourage favoritism in the awarding of public contracts or substantially diminish competition. And the second is awarding of public contracts under the exemption will likely result in substantial cost savings or other substantial benefits. So the first finding regarding competition, the use of the RFP process ensures maximum competition for both general contractors and subcontractors. The project will be broadly advertised in the Business Tribune and on the State of Oregon Procurement website, as well as direct notification to qualified contractors. This advertisement will ensure qualified contractors and subcontractors are able to compete for the project. The second finding is regarding substantial cost savings and benefits. This project presents unique potential risks and will have special design and scheduling constraints as Lynn described. The progressive design build approach brings together in a single team both the design and the contractors that will then work with West's team to significantly reduce the potential for cost overruns and provide for creative value engineering, which all result in substantial cost savings. So the use of the design build method will result in an adoption of a guaranteed maximum price at the end of that design that will ensure the project is completed within scope, timeline, and budget. So for these reasons, we recommend the adoption of the resolution and findings approving the use of the RFP process to select a progressive design builder for the Tri-City Outfall project. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions?
I don't see any hands raised.
So we'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to speak on this matter.
Okay, we don't have anyone here in person. I do ask if you are by Zoom to use your raise hand feature. Again, this is for this specific public hearing. We will be doing public comment later on. I do not have any emails, and I'm not seeing any hands raised, Chair.
All right, so we will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of a resolution for exemption and authorization to use the request for proposals method to obtain a progressive design builder for the Tri-City WRRF Outfall project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve a resolution for exemption and authorization to use the request for proposal method to obtain a progressive design builder for the Tri-City WRRF Outfall project. Any further discussion?
I don't see any hands.
Guess I'd like to thank the voters in Oregon City for supporting this proposal and voting. It was really high, wasn't it? 70% in favor?
Very well done.
Yeah, and this will actually come back to you in lower fees, rates in the future. Appreciate your support. All right, Christina, please poll us.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries unanimously, and I'll announce that the board will recess as a Water Environmental Service and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners for the next item.
Next is a public discussion item, acceptance of land donation for parks purposes made by John and Marilee Wetton and delegation of authority to County Council to complete real property transaction. Stephen Madcore, County Council, will present.
Thank you. Chair, may I invite John and Marilee Wetton to join us here up at the table?
Please go ahead and join us there.
So Commissioners, a few months ago, the Wettons approached the county to see if the county was interested in accepting a parcel of property that they own off of South May Road in unincorporated Clackamas County. I made arrangements to visit the property. Commissioner Savish joined me, Tom Riggs from Parks and Recreation, and Sarah Ekman from BCS toured the property. And it's a beautiful 12.86 acre piece of property. It's undeveloped. It's spring fed with a pond and wildlife. There's otters there and beavers and old cedar trees. And the wetlands want to donate this property to the county to be used for parks purposes. That would be a deed restriction, used in perpetuity for open space parks purposes. Also, they ask that when it is created as a park, that it be named in their honor, whether it's a conservation area or a trail system or a more active park is up to the county's discretion. There are currently a couple horses that a neighbor has pastured on there, and he trains pack horses, and he trains them on there on occasion. One of the conditions that the wetlands asks is that there be a licensing agreement with the county to allow this neighbor to pasture his horses there for the foreseeable future. That is an arrangement that we are currently working on with the neighbor. It has not yet been finalized. But the wetlands briefly, though, John is a longtime educator. There's a grade school in Gladstone named after him. Marilee Wetton was Sherry Hall's teacher. Exactly. So there's a lot of history here. So what I'm asking with this board resolution, it would delegate authority to county council to effectuate the remaining documents that need to be completed to complete this deal. We anticipate that the wetlands would transfer the property prior to the close of the year, and we would need additional documentation such as the licensing agreement with the neighbor to complete this transaction. That might carry over into the new year, but it is something that is a priority of ours. But I wanted the wetlands to be able to come and speak to the board, and also for the board to recognize the generous contributions and donations of the wetlands to Clackamas County. And I'm here to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions of Stephen?
Commissioner Savas has his hand raised.
Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Wettons. It was a pleasure to meet you, John, at the site. I sincerely thank you for your donation to the county on parks. I think your background in education and our discussions, we're going to strive to make this some sort of an educational opportunity in the future. And I want to express and thank you for your years of service and educating in education and in your contribution to our community. So with my sincerest thank yous, we really appreciate your donation.
With that, I'd like to give John and Marilee an opportunity to say something if you like.
Well, I thank the commissioners that came out. It's our privilege to leave this piece of property, which I think has the potential in the future, because that area of county is certainly going to develop. We're close to the metro boundary line, and I think that anytime we can protect the natural resources that we have and leave it for the citizens of the area and the county to enjoy, that is our privilege and our pleasure.
Well, thank you, John. Would you like to say anything?
Marilee, do you want to say anything? Get up to the mic.
What?
Close to the mic.
Well, I just second what John has said. I'll be happy to see that this will be used for the benefit of education for youngsters and for anybody who enjoys hiking and the outdoors.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And as a county commissioner, we do really appreciate that, and preserving natural resources like this for future generations is very, very important. And again, thank you for your service as teachers. The county's much better off now because of you, so thank you very much. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to add something. Thank you so much. I used to be an environmental educator back in my library days as well. So I really appreciate this because I think parks and libraries are some of the two most important functions that we provide for our citizens here. So thank you very much for your generosity and your willingness to make sure that people and kids in the future have a chance to access nature.
Thank you. Ken?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to reiterate something that I said to them earlier before the meeting started, and I think that the public should always hear this comment. Communities are built by those who give to them, not those who take from them. And I truly appreciate what you are doing. This is a building block for the community in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Would you like to make the motion?
I would be happy to, Mr. Chairman. I move we approve the board resolution for acceptance of land donation for parks purposes made by John and Mary Lee Wetton and delegation of authority to County Council to complete the real property transaction.
Second.
Any further discussion? Christina, would you go ahead and poll us?
Yes. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savis?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very, very much, and I'm sure Stephen will take care of you. All right. Thank you. The next item, so we're going to do the public communication last, huh? All right, so next item is the consent agenda.
Actually, Chair, would you consider a 5-minute break?
Sure.
Because we have quite a bit to go after this.
Okay, we do need to get done by
12:30, yes.
12:30, and Sonia, I believe, needs to leave at 12.
Okay.
So yes, let's take a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
All right, we are up. All right, we're on live television now. And Gary, what's up?
All right, we're back to the consent agenda, Commissioners.
And with that, I'd ask the clerk to read the consent agenda.
All right. Consent agenda for today, Health, Housing, and Human Services. Approval for a revenue agreement with Oregon Health Authority for the alternate payment methodology and advanced care model program. Approval to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Housing Authority of Clackamas County to fund support services for residents impacted by COVID-19. Approval of a subrecipient agreement with Women's Health Services and the Community Development Division for the CDBG Children's Programming Fiscal Year 2021. Approval of a personal services contract between Clackamas County and Henry Schein for the dental equipment for the new Sandy Health Center project. Approval of amendment number 2 to Clackamas ASA ambulance service contract. Approval for professional services agreement for temporary physician staff for CHG companies, DBA Comp Health, Fusion Healthcare Staffing LLC, KPG Healthcare LLC, and Maximum Healthcare Staffing Services. Department of Transportation and Development, approval of a quitclaim deed and bill of sale between Clackamas County and Water Environment Services pertaining to the utilities building at 902 Abernethy Road. Approval of an agreement with Confluence Environment Center for AmeriCorps member. A board order approving the transfer of the collection service franchise and service area held by Bliss Sanitary Service, Inc. through a change in control. A board order approving waste management fee adjustments for the franchise operations of the Clackamas County Garbage and Recycling Transfer Station. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Metro to implement the fiscal year 2021 annual waste reduction and recycle at work program. Authorization of purchase quantity 11 Dodge vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Under elected officials, approval of a previous business meeting minutes. Request by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office for approval of the Second Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with TriMet for police services. Request by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office to approve the Fourth Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Marine Board. Request by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office to accept a grant from Oregon Impact for reimbursement related to pedestrian safety environment, or enforcement, excuse me. Request by the Clackamas Sheriff's Office to accept grant from Oregon Impact and reimbursement related to driving under the influence of intoxicants, high visibility enforcement. Approval of the Clackamas County investment policy. Under juvenile, approval of a personal services contract, amendment number 5 with Parrot Creek Child and Family Services to provide sex offender treatment to youth. Under County Council, approval of amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas and Multnomah counties for HIPAA and Part 2 officer. Approval of a board order scheduling a public hearing regarding the dissolution of Shady Dell Water Control District. Under Business and Community Services, approval of a local grant agreement, amendment number 3 between Clackamas County and Micro Enterprises Services of Oregon for MESO to provide a small grants program on the behalf of Clackamas County in support of the local business community impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Approval of the State of Oregon Department of Administrative Services grant agreement with Clackamas County to provide CARES Act funding for grants to the local small business community impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Under Technology Services, authorizing to contract for the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement for software and licensing from Dell Marketing LP. Under Disaster Management, approval of fiscal year 20 State Homeland Security Grant Program application to the state of Oregon for 6 projects. Approval of a master subscription agreement to ESO for an electronic patient care records, EPCRS software. Under Department of Human Resources, deferred compensation plan document update. And that's the consent agenda.
What about Water Environmental
We're
Service?
going to do that separately when you reconvene as the West Board.
Oh, okay. All right. Would any commissioner wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to pull item A5 and B6.
All right.
Yeah, and I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? Christina, please poll us.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries as amended. All right, which items were those? Paul, you want to address those?
Yeah, I'm going to like to ask Administrator Schmidt to expand on the A5 for the public because of so much interest and media attention this has gathered. Could you explain it to the public and ourselves exactly what the contract amendment is with AMR?
Yes, so this item A5 is approval of amendment number 2 to the Clackamas ASA ambulance service contract. So commissioners, you this Tuesday agreed that you would, for the existing ambulance services contract, prepare an amendment, the first amendment to that contract, which creates a 1-year process. Well, you will eventually move this contract to a performance-based contract where there will be a series of metrics that the current incumbent will have to meet in order to continue providing ambulance services. And if those metrics are met, the contract will continue in perpetuity. It's sometimes called an evergreen contract. However, there's going to be a 1-year process to work with our local emergency responders and law enforcement community to make sure that the amendment is satisfactory both to the Board of Commissioners and the community. So that is what this approval does. It's a 1-year process to make sure that the amendment to the contract will be satisfactory to all involved as it's transitioned to a performance-based contract. If anyone would like to add anything to that, of course, please do so.
Well, we did get a support letter from the, what's that called?
Emergency EMS Council, Emergency Management Services Council.
Yes. So does that satisfy what you want, Paul, on that item?
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Gary,
right.
Yeah, Gary, just want to confirm for the public. So I heard what you said. So essentially, what this really does is it puts together a 1-year commitment to work with the EMS Council, AMR, to come up with a contract amendment yet to be seen and yet to be decided on. No financial changes as of today, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you. So I move to approve agenda item A5.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve agenda item A5. And Richard, would you like to add anything to that?
Surely.
You ran up the stairs. That's very
3
quick.
flights pretty quickly. I was in another meeting. So I have not had, I didn't not listen to previous conversations, but anyway, I think this situates the county to do some very needed work in the EMS system. We have a fantastic group in the EMS Council and Public Health doing this work. And we are really posed to do something that is deeply needed and also, I think, sets up the county to be potentially really one of the premier emergency medical systems in the country. So this is really very, very positive, and I appreciate very much the board's support in this. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, it's been moved and seconded, and any other discussion? All right, please poll us.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries. Next item?
Next is B6, which is authorization to purchase quantity 11 Dodge vehicles for the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. And Dan Johnson's here if you'd come forward to help address any questions, please. Surprise, Jan.
So I'm not sure I need, if it's just to expedite things here. I'd really like, I understand what's happening here. Some of you may recall during the budget that the sheriff had testified or made comments during the budget hearing about the engine problems with the Dodges with regard to camshafts. That's a detail that people really don't care about one way or another. But I did have a chance to meet with some of the fleet folks, and we were going to have a follow-up meeting about that. And I would just simply ask really to defer this. I don't think there's anything time sensitive, Dan, unless you think that there is. But it seems to me that if we know that this particular make of vehicle has a particular defect, that we ought to be looking at alternatives, or at least explaining if there's some kind of an extended warranty or something. But in the public's interest, I think we should have further explanation. Thank you.
Dan, do you have any more information on this that you'd
I
like?
don't right now. I probably could get it in a couple seconds, but I'm not sure if you have time to really wait for that.
Well, during the budget process, purchasing these vehicles was of great concern to mine, too. One thing is that the mileage that they like to sell them at was true many years ago, that, American-made cars didn't last much more than 150,000 miles, but today they do. Now, I don't remember the camshaft part. I am familiar with what a camshaft is, and that's a pretty big job on this car, because I assume they're turbo. I mean, I'd be more than happy to defer this until somebody has more time to look into this a little further. Tan, did you get that information you waited for?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. You can bring this up at the next meeting.
Texting as well. I'm not sure what I'm not sure what can't wait for 3 weeks, but we're trying to get responses ASAP here, so.
And Commissioner Humberstone has a question.
Who has a question?
Commissioner Humberstone.
Okay, sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, well, I was just going to suggest two things, Mr. Chairman. We could defer this item until just before Commissioner Communications and revisit it if they're able to get additional information. Right. Failing that, unless there is an emergency to make these purchases immediately, we could put it on the next agenda, in the very first agenda in January. Yes.
Well, since we're waiting for information, let's go ahead.
I have an answer right now. It can wait until January.
Okay.
So why don't we we'll remove the item, and we'll bring it back to the board at a policy session or issues to answer your questions, and then put it back on the agenda in January.
Okay.
It's been removed, so we can move forward.
Okay.
All right. With that, then I would like to announce that the board will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and reconvene as the Water Environmental Services for the next consent agenda item. And with that, I'd ask the clerk to read the consent agenda.
Alrighty, so the Water Environment Services consent agenda. Number 1 is approval of a quitclaim deed and bill of sale between Clackamas County and Water Environment Services pertaining to the utilities building at 902 Abernathy Road. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Gladstone and Water Environment Services pertaining to the joint collection systems work. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County Health, Housing, and Human Services. Approval of a contract between Water Environment Services and Tribeca Transport LLC for the subnatant hauling at the boring sewage treatment plant. And the last is approval of a contract between Water Environment Services and Hack Company to provide flow meters.
Thank you. Do any commissioners wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the Water Environmental Services consent agenda.
Second.
It's moved to second that we approve the Water Environmental Services consent agenda. Any further discussion? With that, Christina, please poll us.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Bernard?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. With that, I'd like to announce that the board will adjourn as Water Environmental Services and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners for the next item. And with that, we're going to turn it over to Christina Terwilliger for the public communication portion of this meeting.
Thank you, Chair Bernard. Now is the time for general comment related to any county business. If you have a comment related to county business, you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Or if you're calling in by phone and want to give comment, please hit *9 now. I do have quite a few hands raised, so we'll just start with Heather Riggs. I've brought you over. Please unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, County Commissioners. My name is Pastor Heather Riggs of Oak Grove United Methodist Church. First of all, I want to thank you for all the efforts that you have made in this past year, strange as it has been, to address the housing crisis and homelessness crisis in our community. And we're still stuck. Churches have still not been able to implement any additional housing on our property. We still can't put up Conestoga huts or do car camping. And the 27 housing units that we are so grateful for fall short of the 100 units that was originally talked of with the nonprofits such as ClackCo Service Center. So please instruct county employees to begin working on these housing units. Oak Grove is my neighborhood too. And my church has houseless people huddled on our front porch pretty much every night. This is really the wrong season for there to be no room at the inn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Sarah Gross Samuelson. Please unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Reverend Sarah Gross Samuelson. I'm the co-leader pastor organizer of Storyline Community. Last night, I was volunteering at Love One Laundry's free laundry event at QED on McLaughlin and ended up in a conversation with a couple asking them what they needed. And he said, I need a hammer and nails because my camp is leaking. And when I get wet, it gets colder. And I was struck last night by the resonance between the gospel story that many of us who celebrate the Christian faith are about to enter into and the lack of room in the inn in our county. I shouldn't have to read this, but I will. The Holy Gospel according to St. Luke. And while Mary and Joseph were there, the time came for her to deliver her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger because there was no place for him in the inn. I'm a member of the Governor's Regional Economic Recovery Commission from the wildfires, and I sat in the presentation when Oregon Community Foundation shared all of the information about Project Turnkey. I also reviewed the minutes for the November 17th session in which Commissioner Savas says that he was hoodwinked and informed that it was for wildfire victims. I found no evidence of county staff saying that it was for wildfire victims. Instead, they said correctly, as it is listed on the website of Project Turnkey, that counties are eligible because of their wildfire status. Because the state wanted to prioritize the triple threat of housing, COVID, and wildfires for this money. This money is going to go away unless it gets used. We don't have time until April 30th. There's $45 million worth of requests from counties across the state and only $30 million in the pot. Again, we have a triple threat of a housing emergency, COVID, and the wildfires, and there is literally no room in the end. We cannot let politics get in the way of saving lives. People will die in the cold this winter unless the county takes it upon itself to use all of the creative solutions that have been offered it. I strongly urge the commission to remove the guideposts set in place that require county staff to come back to the newly elected commission before purchasing a property. Please trust your staff that have been working overtime to solve the problems of all of these emergencies. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'd just like to add there is actually one other tragic event that may occur very soon, is the moratorium on evictions. A lot of people, I'm sure, who are unemployed have not been able to save money, put it in the bank to pay when the eviction moratorium ends, to pay back rent. There will be a lot of victims of, a lot of people homeless, and Clackamas County doesn't have a shelter, I believe. I'm looking for that. I do not believe they have a shelter. This will be our first. So thank you. Next.
All right, up next is Terry. Terry, go ahead and unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Terry Gilreath, and for the past 35 years, I've been the vice president and co-owner of East Side Athletic Clubs in Happy Valley and Jennings Lodge. Unfortunately, our athletic clubs are closed at this time due to the governor's framework plan. And although we've serviced 57,000 check-in visits over the past 5.5 months, we've had 0 COVID cases. We are still closed. Eastside has been an integral part of the community in Jennings Lodge for more than 43 years. We've served 3,500 members with a focus on young families and seniors. We are recipients of Parent Magazine's Best Athletic Club for Families Award, and as well are the recipients of the North Clackamas Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year Award. I'm speaking today to ask that the Econo Lodge on McLaughlin Boulevard not be purchased and transformed into a shelter for the chronically homeless. I've experienced firsthand the impact on the growing number of homeless individuals on our business. We regularly must call the non-emergency law enforcement line to ask that individuals loitering in the parking lot, napping between cars, or smoking at the front entry doors be removed from the property. Of course, we also deal with the folks sleeping under the awning at the entry in the mornings and must manage the cleanup of trash and feces as well. Not having a shelter is one thing, and that's not okay, but also having too much idle time is yet another problem. Creating safe shelter for homeless individuals is important, and equally so maintaining a safe environment for my team, my staff, who arrive on site at 4:45 in the morning, and for the elderly members and young families that are part of our membership. The proposed lodging facility is just 1.25 blocks from our business, and 1.5 blocks the other direction is a methadone clinic. We are right in the middle. Our facility and parking lots will be the pass-through area as they are already, and I don't believe that's a good thing for our youngsters and our seniors. Lodging for the chronically homeless should be in an area with richer resources, both in infrastructure and financially flush pockets. This immediate local community is already in need of assistance and support, and adding this shelter this close by will further add to the poverty in the several block radius of our club. Please reconsider using the Econo Lodge in McLaughlin, and let's find a better suited inn. I propose 2 ideas or solutions. 1, encourage the government to open all businesses. We've been closed for a total of 4 months of the last 12. Our employees are unemployed. There are 100 of them. They want to come to work. The service industry is not high paying, and they are suffering financially, mentally, and physically. My team too are in need of help, and they live and work in this immediate area. Without jobs, they might become an additional part of this crisis and at risk for homelessness themselves. Secondly, engage with the houses of worship who do not pay property taxes and can and should be part and want to be part of the long-term solution. These properties host parking, open land, and typically cooking facilities. We saw them providing space and assistance during the fire crisis, and possibly they can become part of the permanent solution. Let's recruit their help. Let's identify a different location, not the Econo Lodge. It's not the right place. It's the wrong inn. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next.
All right, the next person is Al Scott. Al, I've brought you over. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name's Al Scott, and I've lived and worked in the Oak Grove Jennings Lodge for over 30 years. One thing I'd like to mention is first start the MABA, the McLaughlin Area Business Alliance. One of their goals was to improve the economic vitality of the area. And it appears to me that the homeless shelter purchase there on McLaughlin seems to undermine that work which there's been quite a bit of work on that. Anyway, you'll be taking things off the tax roll. I'd like to also mention, as far as in our community, that the Housing Authority of Clackamas County a few years ago had tried to turn the Elks Lodge into a low-income housing project. It appears so many times, and I'm very up as far as wanting to help the homeless. I understand some of the needies. I've seen people in our area. I know Paul Savas had shared from his business before. He'd been held up, robbed right next door, practically to the where the Econo Lodge was. The Delco gas station right down the street from there, the owner was shot and killed, and it's been never solved. That murder's never been solved. And I know Commissioner Savas knows and walked, has been to the drug, had drug houses near his house. We've had it near our business before. It's there's lots of different pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, between the mentally ill, the drug issues, and all, which help cause the homeless situation. But it appears to me that there's also, as been mentioned, there are many sex offenders. I know a few years ago I'd looked, there were more level 3 sex offenders housed on McLaughlin than there was anywhere else around. To me, it's not the best practice. And I know Representative Savas had talked about how when you put poverty upon poverty or homelessness upon poverty, it's not the best practice. And so I don't know what can be done. It sounds like this other hotel may be a better situation, that it turns out if you end up going and you go along with that agreement, which may be a good thing, but as far as to have an easy out in case if in the sales agreement, purchase agreement, in case if the other hotel would be much better, because it doesn't seem like there's been a whole lot of, pushed on there. And I think, I'm sure Commissioner Savas could be able to help craft some kind of contingency thing in the contract, whether it be based on the neighborhood input, dealing with the best practices for the helping the homeless as far as to get them out of homelessness. And, in that case, the larger hotel would be the better solution. But, we do need to do something to help our homeless situation. It's definitely out there. It breaks, I'm sure, everyone's heart when they see whether, people are in drug-induced states. That's pathetic and hurtful to see that. They need to be
Al,
touched. Okay, thank you very much.
We've reached our 3 minutes. Thank you. Next up is Les Poole. Les, I've brought you over. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Les Poole from Gladstone. I've been attending meetings for, hard to believe, but over a decade now. And so I think it's fitting that I'm here today to see a message of change for the upcoming year. And we've just heard a couple of folks express some concerns about keeping their businesses going and concerns about is the avenue we're taking at the county the right path? And I'm not here to debate all of that, but what's clear is that there's a message from the election and there's a message out there on the streets for those who still can afford gas that we're in deep trouble. And a lot of it's been the lack of appreciation for our businesses from the folks in Salem. Long before COVID, long before the fires, they were taxed out and being maxed out. And I was here talking about it. So this isn't news to some of us. And I'm just hopeful that in the future we can really be careful with money. We get the message from the voters that government's getting too big. They're taking too much money from the people that are paying for it. And no greater example was the out-of-touch transportation measure, the wage tax that Metro put out. A big rejection of how they operate, a big rejection of the kind of overblown spending that's occurring. And I don't come to you as anti-government. I come to you as someone that's always been here about accountability and about the areas where I have expertise. And so this isn't a lecture, but it's a strong message. And I'll conclude by saying I submitted a op-ed to the Clackamas Review, which was picked up by the Portland Tribune, in which I tried my best to tie together what was it that the citizens, the residents, the voters especially, had to say. And that message is clear. So a lot of hard work is going to be coming. I frankly wouldn't want to be a commissioner come budget time, but we've got good people there. I do want to commend Gary Schmidt for coming in the way he has. I think Gary's been put in a very, very awkward position and has really performed well.
All right,
And
Les,
I
we've
think he,
reached
of
our
all
3
people,
minutes.
represents the need to be careful with our money in the future. So thank you all, and certainly have a great holiday.
Thank you, Les. All right, next up is Jennifer Harding. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman Bernard and Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Harding, and I'm the owner and president of East Side Athletic Club. We're located at 4606 Southeast Boardman in Jennings Lodge. We have a history of commitment to this community. Our involvement has included partnering with the schools, serving on the North Clackamas Chamber Board, and I was co-chair of the McLaughlin Area Business Alliance. Prior to the pandemic, there were hopeful signs of improvement on McLaughlin Boulevard. MABA, along with Clackamas County, completed the formation of a lighting district that installed lights on both sides of McLaughlin. The trolley trail continues to be a home run. Starbucks built a new building, and most of the fast food stores have invested funds in facade improvements along the corridor. The blighted label that the consultants have associated with McLaughlin was starting to dissipate. Unfortunately, in recent months, the area has lost Gigi's retail complex, the Bomber, Walgreens, and other businesses. Many of the business owners I've spoken to are on the edge of that same fate. Additional negative impacts to this area will cause more doors to close. Now to the subject of the Econo Lodge. We're not opposed to the plans to assist our homeless or needy population. We are opposed to the site selection of the Econo Lodge. I've heard politicians say not to use the term "not in my backyard." However, our backyard is already doing its fair share. Let me give you just a few examples. The methadone clinic on Addy Street by our club. Taxpayer-subsidized HUD affordable housing units are not a mere 1,000 yards away from the Econo Lodge. Numerous mobile home parks which accommodate affordable housing are located in the area. The Milwaukee Inn next to Olson Brothers on McLaughlin houses people in transition via an agreement with Multnomah County. I verified this yesterday. We even take care of people outside our area. The Elks contributes to our children in need through the Backpack Buddy program and played a key role in assisting people in need from the fires of recent months. The specific area surrounding the Econo Lodge has the highest poverty stats, as Commissioner Salvas shared with you. Clackamas County is a very large area, and there must be compassionate people, acceptable sites, and boundless resources in other areas such as Lake Oswego, West Lynn, Oregon City, Sandy, or Estacada. Why continue to pile on any sort of burden in this deprived area? When the county staff was asked Tuesday in the commissioners meeting whether the sites were considered, there was no answer. My final issue is the lack of transparency regarding this issue. The area businesses and residents only found out about this issue over this past weekend. An emergency meeting was called for Jennings Lodge CPO to inform the area residents. MABA also only received notice this past Monday, and were only given the opportunity to provide public comment today. I witnessed the vote on Tuesday to allow the staff to
Okay, Jennifer, unfortunately, we've reached our 3 minutes. Thank you. Next up is going to be Anna Hosley. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi there. I am a pastor, leader, organizer of Storyline Community located in the unincorporated area of Oak Grove and Milwaukee. I'm also a mother of young kids, and I live here in Oak Grove. This is my community. I want to thank you for your work to open up a winter shelter option. I really appreciate the robust discussion there's been on this item during this meeting, and I think I've seen that all of you commissioners seem to really understand the importance of winter shelter. I appreciate, Paul, your strong words about the importance of this need, and Sonia, I really appreciate your strong words on the urgency of this need. And that's what I want to speak to here. First, I want to just put a face to this need. I've heard a lot of generalizations here, and here's a face that that I know. I have a friend who was fleeing a dangerous domestic violence situation last winter with her 2 toddlers. She had nowhere to go. This is so often the case when someone is fleeing a situation like this. Their entire network of support can become suddenly unavailable because they need to go where they cannot be found or where their abuser will not be enabled. She sought help from our resources offering safe shelter for those fleeing domestic violence and was informed the wait time for shelter was 2 to 10 years. So when winter hit, she moved from being afraid for her safety from physical violence to being afraid her family wouldn't make it through the night. We do not have one option for emergency shelter in Clackamas County, not one. That is not okay. This is urgent and it cannot be kicked down the road. We've been hit again and again on the housing front, starting with an emergency at baseline that constituted a public health crisis. And any feeble legs we had to meet that were pulled out from under us with the impact of the wildfires and the constraints of safe shelter with COVID. And that's part of the problem that Terry spoke to. Our neighbors who have been displaced have nowhere to go. I was part of the effort that Terry mentioned, providing wildfire relief as a community of faith. We are not allowed to provide overnight shelter because of COVID restrictions in that same way. We do not have other options. We do not have time to build other options. This is urgent, and it's a matter of conscience. Every year neighbors die from the cold. This is our neighborhood, and we need to say that is not okay with us. So I urge the board to make this happen as quickly as possible because the time is now. I urge, as Reverend Sarah did as well, to let the staff continue on the road you've already approved and not slow this process down any further. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And we do not have any other hands. I do have 3 emails to read. The first email is from Dave and Marianne. It says, maybe the county commissioners could redirect the horrible waste of money for the homeless shelter to help out the business people in the area. You know, the one who pays taxes and employ people so we do not have homeless problem. All the best, Dave Schultz. I have one from Thelma Hagenmiller. Good morning. My name is Thelma Hagenmiller. I'm a resident and citizen activist in the unincorporated area of Clackamas County, Oregon, known as Oak Grove. For many years, I've worked diligently to raise citizen awareness of the opportunities available to work cooperatively with our county government and staff for the betterment of our community. Some examples of this cooperations are the safety of the McLaughlin Street Lighting Plan, the McLaughlin Area Plan Implementation Programs and Projects, the Concord School Property Redevelopment, the latest Park Avenue Plan, the new park near Boardman Wetlands area. The project listed above took too much cooperation between our citizens and our county. All of the projects involved citizens being informed, aware, and trusted. Last week, I was alerted by a concerned citizen, that there was something taking place behind closed doors that I should be aware. The alert said the county housing authority was purchasing the Econo Lodge Motel in Jennings Lodge to become a homeless shelter. I contacted several citizen leaders in our area. No one was aware of this plan. Then I contacted Gary Schmidt, our county administrator, who confirmed what we had been told. I will now quote some of my favorite activist statements that apply to this situation. Any effort that doesn't meaningfully involve a truly representative cross-section of all citizens will be torpedoed, intentionally or not, by those not involved. Skipping public participation, as cumbersome and noisy as it may be, is an inexcusable breach of public trust and the invitees to contempt that too many people hold for government and public officials. Discussing this purchase in an executive session, placing it on a policy session agenda for Tuesday, December 15th, with a misleading purpose outcome, approval of Econo Lodge hotel contract for rental of up to 27 winter shelter rooms until April 30th, 2021, then placing an agreement on the consent agenda of the Housing Authority for the business meeting on Thursday, December 17th, under the anonymous title of Project Turnkey Property Acquisition, does not in any way meet the smell test or grain test in our government. I refer to your your performance Clackamas goal number 1, build public trust through good government. The answer of we are doing this just because we can truly does not stand the trust test, goal number 1. And pray tell, where does performance Clackamas goal number 2, grow vibrant economy, fit in this action? Respectfully, Thelma. And then I have one last one from Tom and Leslie Weaver. I respectfully ask this be read aloud at the board meeting. As a longtime resident, 56 years, of Jennings Lodge and a community volunteer for much of that time, I am strongly opposed and totally offended by the manner being used by the BCC to ram the Econo Lodge project down the throats of our community. Where is the transparency and community outreach that would normally accompany a major project such as this? With a rush, or what's the rush? It was explained to us that Econo Lodge was going to be used by victims of wildfires this past summer. Now, without notice, real community outreach, or transparency whatsoever, you turn it into a homeless shelter. Shame on you. I participated in a hastily called Zoom meeting with our CPO last night, at which time, for the first time, 2 county reps represent in extremely vague language what this project entails. It was the kind of take it because we're going to do it anyway presentation. I don't fault either of these two. They simply went with what they had to say, which wasn't much. What's the rush? I also sat in a Zoom on the BCC meeting this morning, at which time the project was discussed by the board. It was very apparent that only Commissioner Savas had done any homework related to this matter, and also apparent that the other members of the BCC who already made up their minds to move this project ahead before the meeting began. 2 of which, by the way, are leaving office soon. Commissioner Savas explained to the rest of you about the high rate of poverty that already exists in this area of the county, the lack of nearby resources and treatment centers, not to mention that this facility was not built to accommodate full-time residency. I'm appalled by the way Commissioner Savas was treated during this meeting. I respectfully request that you delay moving this project forward at this time. Thank you for your time, Tom Weaver. And that's the end of public communication.
All right, with that, we'll close the public portion of this agenda and go to Gary. Do you have more updates?
I do, Commissioners. I have 2 quick business ones, and then we want to recognize you, Chair Bernard, and Commissioner Humberston. So first, Commissioners, we did email you yesterday the Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue organization, of which they have a memorandum of understanding with Clackamas County, gave notice of terminating that memorandum of understanding because the search and rescue unit is going to move their operations to Hood River County. So we have written a letter of thanks to them for their service, an acknowledgement of their request, which we provided to you. If you agree to sign, if the board agrees to sign that, we can send that on behalf of the board. So I'm seeking approval to send that letter to the Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue.
I thought we already did that. I believe I signed it already, so I'm not sure. No, I haven't.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please poll us.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertston?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas? You're on mute, Commissioner Savas. It's like he might have stepped away.
All right, Martha?
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Bernard?
Aye. I just want to mention that the Search and Rescue Group has done outstanding work for Clackamas County for many, many years and saved a lot of lives. And it's a shame that our sheriff did not appreciate them and looked elsewhere to create his own search and rescue group. That's a shame, and I apologize for that because you guys have done a great job, and personally, I'd like to thank you very much for the work you've done. All right, Gary, you had something else?
We'll send that letter. Yes. So commissioners, the Board of County Commissioners will be on recess starting tomorrow, December 18th, 2020, through January 3rd, 2021, when you will return for business on Monday, January 4th, 2021. Under the county code, it authorizes the county administrator, myself, to have signing authority on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. I commit to you, Commissioners, I will only sign what is absolutely necessary to keep county business operating. Otherwise, I will ask staff to wait until the board reconvenes in January, and I will communicate with you over the recess what I do sign on your behalf, and then seek ratification when you return. So just want to clarify that during your recess, I will be signing on your behalf per the county code. And then finally, I know you have another meeting, Commissioners, but I do suggest you take the time you need to recognize each other and give your Commissioner communications. This is Chair Bernard's and Commissioner Humberston's last business meeting as county commissioners, and this is an opportunity. Normally, we'd have a huge retirement party where this room would be filled with people, but because of COVID, we're not able to do that this year. So instead, we just want your colleagues around the table and on Zoom and myself to briefly, but importantly, want to thank you for your service to Clackamas County. And we also have some small tokens to recognize you both, and I will show you what they are. So for Commissioner Humberston, camera, hard to see on the camera, this beautiful plaque, which says, Ken Humberston, Clackamas County Commissioner, 2017 through 2020, with sincere appreciation for your outstanding service to Clackamas County and its citizens. And to Chair Bernard.
Thank you.
Chair
Thank you very
Bernard,
much.
similarly a beautiful plaque here that says, Chair Bernard, Clackamas County Commissioner, 2009 through 2020, with sincere appreciation for your outstanding service to Clackamas County and its citizens. I just want to say it's been a pleasure and honor to serve with both of you during my time here as a county employee and most recently as county administrator. Ken, as a Marine, Semper Fi, which means always faithful, and you have always done that as an elected official of Clackamas County and in your service and contributions. I've learned so much from you. KISS, keep it simple, and the last S, to get to the point, to say yes or no, to speak up, speak truth to power, and you've helped me evolve as a leader as well. So thank you, Ken, for your tremendous example, and I've greatly enjoyed working with you. Chair Bernard, I worked with you back when you were mayor of Milwaukee, and I was working for the United States Senate, and I started at Clackamas County 3 months after you did, so I've spent my entire journey here with you, and I've greatly learned from you as well. And yes, when I applied for Clackamas County Administrator 2 years ago, I gave all of you commissioners a courtesy notice that I was doing that, and most of you were pretty non-committal, just said, oh, that's nice, thanks for telling us. But Chair Bernard, you said, and this is my memory, Jim, there is no way you're gonna get that job, so don't waste your time. And I really appreciated you saying that, because you lit a fire in my belly where I told myself, I'm going to prove to Jim that I can do this, but mostly prove to myself that I could do that. So I want to thank you, Jim, because that was a mentor moment I will never forget in my entire life, because I wasn't sure if I could do it, but you inspired me to prove to you and the board that I could, and I've been doing that every day since. So thank you for your mentorship and your leadership. On behalf of the voters of Clackamas County, thank you both for your service. I know now your colleagues want to say some words as well, so we can start with Commissioner Schrader.
Well, I'm going to miss you, Kenbo and Jimbo. And the reason I say that, and I refer to you that way, is because I think both of you are stellar individuals and human beings. And you've been so much fun to work with, because one of the things that we do is so difficult in this job. We're always making decisions. We're dealing with constituents who are happy, constituents who are cranky. We're dealing with major issues that we never thought we'd have to deal with, COVID and wildfires, in ways that have just really taken all of our time and all of our energy. And through all of this, both of you have been inspiring. Honest to goodness, Ken, I love working with you. You are so much fun. You're straight as an arrow. I always called you my bunker buddy because I always knew you had my back, no matter what. And I really am going to miss that with you. And Jim, you've got the craziest sense of humor I have ever dealt with with anybody. And I really appreciate, I think what I like about you the best is your calm demeanor when you kind of run these meetings, which can get really, really, kind of out there sometimes. And your willingness to listen, and above all, I want people to know, in my estimation, you're one of the kindest people I've ever met. And I think that you really care. And I'm going to miss your big heart and your presence. And I'm liking the beard, although we can't see it with the mask. But thank both of you gentlemen, because I've been here a while, and you've been one of the best commissions I've ever had the opportunity to work with, and I'm going to miss you, my friends. But I'm still going to be your friends, and you still hear from me. So thank you, Jim. I can't hug you, but okay, Kimbo.
And then Commissioner Savas or Commissioner Fisher, who would like to go next, please?
Are they there?
Yeah, thanks, you guys. I'm not very good at goodbyes, so I'm not going to say goodbye. I can say I appreciated this part of the journey and working with both of you, especially Jim. I've always appreciated your truthfulness, and from way back when I first sought appointment to the commission back, I think it was 2008, might have been 2009, but you really were so honest and forthright with me and made such an impression that I have paid that forward, or I've tried to pay it forward with everyone seeking elected office in any way, to really be there, to be transparent, to be honest, to really let them know about the process and what's at stake and how it works. And I really, really appreciated you so much from the very, very beginning of our relationship. It's been wonderful. And Ken, I just can't say enough about your authenticity. You say it like you see it, how valuable that is on a board. Always know right where you are. And it's refreshing and getting to the chase. And at times it's like, no, wait, we got to talk more about this. Oh, no, wait. But I appreciate it. You know what you get with Commissioner Ken Humberston. And I just got to say that Grace is probably the best part of you. And I can't lose her or you. So we have to find a way to stay connected through COVID and then afterwards, because Grace has been part of our county commission family as well. And she's precious, wonderful. And I'm going to miss her as well as I will miss you on the commission. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't be there today. I'm dealing with a severe back issue. So if my voice cracks and you see me squinting, it's because of just the pain I'm enduring. The years of public service, both Ken and Jim, that you provided, deserves the recognition. We all do what we do. I think I often find that we agree on what we want to do, but sometimes where we get a little bit sideways sometimes is how we go about it, and how we go about it in a way that's going to work or be efficient or whatever those particulars are. But on the personal side, when we can get away from the work that we do, I have found both Ken and Jim to be very warm individuals. I really appreciate our little chats and our times of humor where there's a little bit of levity, where we can have a small cocktail and just kind of relax and just talk about things in general. And those times are few and far between with the heavy workload that we have. But I do remember them. And I just looking at, again, your resumes as far as how much public service and years you put in, should be recognized. And so, on behalf of the county and the city and all the other agencies that we've all served, your dedication for both of you is surely recognized, and I wish you both the best in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of my county administrator update. Up last is Commissioner Communications.
Commissioner, who wants to start first?
You're up. I want to go second to last. if you don't mind.
Martha, go ahead.
Okay, well, I don't really have much to report this week, except I'm going to miss both of you guys. And I love you both very much, and I love the staff, and I love what we do here. So be safe over the holidays, and we'll be in touch. I know, and please give my best to Grace and Danielle, gentlemen. I'm going to miss you.
Thank you.
Right.
Sonia?
Sure. I'm going to ask Christina to do a little PowerPoint in just a sec, but I wanted to say that this has been a really hard year for so many of us, with a lot of struggle, not only for us as individuals, but for our community, and listening and being there has been challenging. But in the midst of this, for the days before a very important event, I did quite a bit of reflection. I'm just going to share briefly. But on December 7th was 5 days before a very special addition to our family came that I didn't know when it would be. So each morning as I went on my walk, I captured a little bit of the day. And as county commissioners, the landscape of what we protect for the land and the beauty is such an integral part of who we are as leaders and as a community, that focusing on the beauty really created a lot of peace and tranquility within me. But this was the picture at Foothills Park on December 7th. Okay, next picture. And this picture was at Lusher Farms. It's actually the picture that you can see behind me in my background. I love it so much as the sun was rising. I was certain that the little baby was going to arrive this day, but she didn't. I had to wait a little bit longer. And next slide. And this day was a little bit ominous. And this is also over by George Rogers Park, but the fog was so thick and really created a settling and a moment of tranquility. And then next. This was up, as you walk up to where I live, up on a hill, there's one place where I could take a picture of Mount Hood, and I was just certain that little Isla Joy was going to be born on this day, but nope, lo and behold, this was actually, this is wrong. This is actually December, oh, maybe not. I'm confused, sorry. This is also Foothills Park, and the next slide. This was the day that she was born on at George Rogers Park there by the water. And then the great surprise on December 12th, little baby Isla Joy, who we just welcome with open arms, a true miracle in this time of such a struggle and stress. And the next slide, being grandma in COVID world, meeting that little precious one, just filled my soul with a piece of a miracle. And then next, and you gotta have the humor with Grandpa Kirk with his doggy mask, which brings so much laughter and joy to all of us. And with that, I will leave you with the next slide.
Thank you. We begin to wonder if the baby will recognize human faces. Paul?
Paul.
Oh, Paul.
Yeah, I appreciate your visuals, Sonia, and I think each time that you display some of your surroundings, I always reckon back to the surroundings that I've been kind of referring to in the last few days here, which are not so pretty, but it's a reality, and I appreciate all the comments today. I went and took and listened to all of the tapes, took copious notes. I'm pretty confident about the statements that I made and my concerns that I made. And whatever's going on there is a little bit unfortunate. But we have a number of values of the county, and I think public trust is one of them. And I have found that when people, and Martha, a friend and colleague, we found under difficult times compassion from people when we did and talked to people about the Veterans Village, and we were successful. And I think that model is something that I thought we could leverage in a way that by building trust, we could actually address the problem that we have. So one part of this whole battle with poverty and homelessness is that we spend, unfortunately, a lot of time reacting to the situations as opposed to being proactive. And my efforts have been both proactive and reactive. And it seems like a lot of the support is on reacting, helping the people that we can see and touch and everything else. The difficulty, and I mentioned this last week, I mentioned this before, but the fact that we're not actually looking and taking a hard look and being honest with ourselves about how we prevent people from falling into homelessness, what government should be doing to help people, that I think indirectly we are hurting people, that the government should be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. And that I mean that from a proactive standpoint. Obviously, from a reactive standpoint, we're doing those things. And there's not enough money, frankly, going forward to keep up with the needs that we're creating. The smartest thing to do is to fix the hole in the boat. And I've implored people, I've begged people, please take a look at the practices that we're doing, that we can keep housing affordable and keep people in their home and stop displacing them. Not always, you can't always be successful. Homelessness is not new, it's been there for centuries, but it is no coincidence that in our region, we have some extraordinary numbers that are not very favorable, that definitely point to the fact that we are making it worse. And that is the proactive element. So I have not yet found my colleagues supportive of looking at that. That's unfortunate. I'm hoping in the new year, perhaps we do. And that is the part that I think that probably keeps me up at night, keeps me really upset. So when I see people on my walks every day, I don't see what you see, Sonia. I wish I could. I could probably drive out there, avoid what I see, and go for the walks in the same place you do. And I'd love to, but I don't. I walk in my community. And I think some of the commenters who live in this community see the same thing. I know they see the same thing I do. And it's sad. And as much of an optimist I am, it's very difficult to put a smile on it after a 1 mile or a 2 mile walk. So I please implore people going forward, Sonia, I'll be working with you next year. Martha, I'll be working with you next year. Yeah. Maybe we should go for a walk together.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk together in the morning, and I like you to see what I see on a daily basis. It's very sad, and so being smart and watching the details and taking every dollar and maximize it so we can provide the most amount of benefit is the humane thing to do. It's what I'm trying to do. But to be cut off with someone saying, call for the question, doesn't allow me to express that, especially to the people that want to watch these meetings, that want to learn, that want to understand. You might be doing yourself a service, but I think we're doing our constituents a disservice. So respectfully, I wish you all the best holiday season and the safest holiday season. And I will conclude my comments there.
All right, so Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm going to confine my comments to gratitude and thanks today. In 54 years of serving either in elected or appointed board positions, I have to say that the honor of serving here in Clackamas County on the County Commissioner has been truly the professional honor of a lifetime. And I really have appreciated the quality of people that we've had the opportunity to work with. I hope that the general public understands just how talented and how dedicated the staff here are in Clackamas County. Like any government agency, we are certainly not perfect, and I don't think anybody would suggest that we are. But I can assure the public that the people that work for them work hard, they work diligently, they work every single day trying to do the best job that they can. And one of the things that I have mentioned more than once at luncheons has been, as a county commissioner, I have never received a phone call from a constituent complaining about the behavior or the attitude or the incompetence of any Clackamas County employee. I think that is an incredible 4 years, quite frankly, and I suspect that it predates my tenure on this board. We are incredibly lucky to have the people that we have. I want to give a special shout out, because of the difficulties of the year that we have been through, to our emergency folks and our health department folks. You talk about stepping up. There were people in our communications division that were doing 32-hour shifts to try and stay ahead and make sure that the public was informed about what was going on with the emergencies in our county. 32 straight hours. That is incredible work. The amount of volunteer time that staff have put in to help out in different places in this county to meet the needs of the public. Volunteers that have come out and helped deliver food to the senior centers and others in need, many times doing this on their own time. I am truly grateful to have had the honor and the opportunity to work with people of that caliber. I'd like to also call out some other people here in Clackamas County that are what I like to consider to be unsung heroes in the political world. Are the mayors and city councils of all of our 15 cities who serve without being compensated and have worked with us as county commissioners to make this a better county for everyone and partner with the county commission to do things in a more effective way. I'd particularly like to call out several of them that I had the opportunity to work with on a number of projects. Tim Knapp from Wilsonville, Sean Drinkwine in Estacada, Russ Axelrod in West Lynn, Mark Gamba in Milwaukee, and Keith Swigert down in Molalla. Every one of these men has worked with us cooperatively for the benefit of the citizens of their city and this county, and they do that without compensation. Then there are the community-based organizations, our CPOs, groups in Stafford, Bull Run, Malino, Molalla, Rhododendron, Beaver Creek, and Colton. I've had the honor to work with them on projects and issues that were important in their communities. We have not solved them all, and we still have a lot of work to do, but these people serve as volunteers in their community to make their community a better place, and that is part of Clackamas County that sometimes is forgotten about. I hope that as we go forward, we don't forget about them in the future. And finally, nobody gets to this job without the assistance of people in the public. So I want to give a shout out to some groups of people that helped me get here, but also were there behind us on some of the things that we were able to accomplish as a county commission over the last 4 years. Our working people, unions, AFSCME, operating engineers, the laborers union, LIUNA, IBEW 48, the carpenters unions, the steelworkers, and the painters, all of whom are out there day in and day out working and building buildings and repairing our roads and doing other work on behalf of all the citizens of Clackamas County and the businesses of Clackamas County. A couple of our small businesses, just to name a couple that were supportive, a little company called Small Flags and another little company called OC Signs that employ people and that bring a few bucks into Clackamas County. The backbone of our county is small business. And then finally, the elected officials from around the country that we've had the opportunity to, or the state, I should say, that we've had the opportunity to work with, both our state legislators and our state senators, as well as our federal contingent, including Senators Merkley and Wyden. Without the relationships that we've been able to build with all of these people, Clackamas County would be struggling. But it's not struggling. We are doing well. People want to be here. We have a balanced budget, and we have a AAA credit rating, and we have solved a lot of problems that were here when we first came on board. And we did that by working together as a team. So thank you all for all that you have done, for the work that you've done, and that you will continue to do in the future. And thank you for the honor of allowing me to serve with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I'm going to save a lot of time by saying ditto to that. You know, I ran an automotive repair business, and there's something about automotive repair that's always true. No one wants to do it or pay for it. It's just a part of driving a vehicle. So you get those who hate you because you worked on it, because they have to pay for it, love you because you worked on it and they have to pay for it. But I think that's what makes you a good politician, because it's always true. There's a side, there's another side that supports you and a side that doesn't. But the thing that is really important now is that we're still in a very tragic time. Yesterday, 48 more people died, 1,562 new cases in Oregon. We need to get past this. This isn't politics. These are the facts. It's not a joke. It's not a secret government experience. People will die. And that's why it was so important today to extend the emergency ordinance. I don't know what the next chair is going to do, but I have seen her on television that she doesn't believe this is real. It is real. And I am not going to leave here and forget about all the important work we've done to save lives. We have done it, literally saved lives. And it's going to be up to you, the future board, and the citizens of residents, of Clackamas County to keep other people alive. It's your responsibility, so please follow the rules, love one another, and survive. So thank you all very much for your years of support, and all those people Ken named, ditto to, and thank you, all you guys, for your outstanding service. Thank you, and with that, we are adjourned.